Welcome. I'm Barbara Call, Senior Director of Content Strategy and Operations at IDG, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's webcast, titled Talent Pipeline Issue Hindering Digital Transformation Initiative, and brought to you by IDG, IDC, and Udacity. I have three speakers joining me today. First up is Jennifer Dearman, Senior Vice President, Global Customer Success and Operations at Udacity. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Barbara. Great to be here.
My second speaker is Sean Fitzgerald, Research Director for IDC's Worldwide Digital Transformation Strategies practice and responsible for IDC's small and medium research practice. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, Barbara. Thanks for hosting.
Also joining us today is Cushing Anderson, Program Vice President, Consulting, System Integration, HR, and Learning Services at IDC, where he's responsible for managing the field research and custom research projects for IDC's IT Education and Skills for Digital Transformation Research Program. Welcome, Cushing.
Thanks, Barbara. Looking forward to it.
And now I'll hand things over to Sean to kick us off.
Thank you, Barbara. So as we think about digital transformation and what it means for industry, we really define it as transforming your decision-making with technology. And that transformation is really about creating new business models that leverage empirical-based cultures. And it's done with speed, scale, and agility through the use of third platform technologies. And what's really interesting is while digital transformation has been going on for several years, we see over the next few years between 2021 and 2024, $7.8 trillion of direct investment in digital transformation hardware, software, and services. That's growing at 16.4% over that time frame. In contrast, non-digital transformation investment is expected to actually contract 0.1% over that same duration. And so while we see a lot of investment in digital transformation, you may be wondering, well, what are companies getting by undertaking digital transformation? And quite frankly, we see in our own research that companies that successfully transform themselves see almost twice the revenue and operating profit than companies that haven't made digital transformation a priority to date. And in fact, companies that are in the process of becoming digitally transformed and more mature, they also see significantly higher revenue and profits than companies that are not transforming. But while we see all this investment and we see the successful companies are certainly reaping the rewards, actually very few companies are fully transformed today. In fact, our own research shows that less than 4% or 3.9% of companies have made that whole journey to being what we would call a digital native. And in our research over the last 5 years studying digital transformation, we see three main aspects or dimensions of success, if you will. And for companies that want to transform, they really need to have that single business strategy that either is transformation or fully mirrors the business strategy as transformation. They have a single roadmap that takes strategy to operational capabilities, and they're investing in what we call a fully integrated enterprise-wide technology architecture, which is a digital platform. And so drilling into the aspects of strategy, if you will, we see that only 37% of companies that are undertaking digital transformation have an integrated enterprise-wide strategy. In contrast, we see a full 63% that either are only trying to do impromptu types of efforts, they're merely executing digital at a line of business or functional level, or in fact, if they do have an enterprise strategy, they're behaving so tactically around it that it really doesn't execute or operate the way that you would expect an enterprise strategy or deployment to work. Additionally, we know the best companies when doing and implementing digital transformation are taking what we call a use case approach. They're very much looking at the technology in the context of the business problems they're trying to solve. So that's really important. It's not just investing in technology for technology's sake. And in addition to that use case approach, they're understanding that they can't do all of these transformation efforts simultaneously while still trying to run their business. So what we also see are the best companies are taking what we call a horizon approach. They think about what are the foundational projects or use cases they need to undertake today to either modernize or digitize. And from that Horizon 1 foundational investment and transformation effort, they're able to then build out additional digital transformation use case capabilities in Horizon 2, and then thinking about what are the more advanced levels of digital that they want to achieve on over time in Horizon 3. And that platform really matters because doing all this work, making all this investment, and trying to do all this change management, you really need to be able to do it with speed, scale, and agility. And that's where we really see the value of a digital platform. And the core tenets of that platform is that it's cloud-based using API strategies. It's built on an agile application architecture. It really focuses on the new customer experience using information that's derived from what is at the center of this platform, which is an intelligent core. And unlike traditional change management, where we used to just talk about the elements of people, process, and technology, for digital, because it is so complex and it's happening in real time, you really need to add this fourth dimension of governance. And at the center of it is really about using data to create insight, understanding, and actionable capabilities for the benefit of your customers, markets, and enhancing your products, services, and experiences around those. And quite frankly, digital transformation, while it's been going on for quite a while, companies are really struggling, as I said earlier, that less than 4% are fully transformed. And where we see the top transformation challenges companies need to overcome in the next 18 to 24 months, you'll see that comprehensive training will really drive adoption and improve the outcomes for transformation, because training can really help address some of these challenges, which include tactical plans, the siloing of innovation that's localized and not extended across the organization, siloed DX initiatives where people are trying to do their own things but not communicating or understanding what's going on in other parts of the organization, how they choose to measure transformation through KPIs and in their management systems, and then clearly this lack of limited digital transformation, technical expertise, and capabilities. And that's hugely important as we think about professional services, because when we look at that digital transformation investment that I started speaking about at the beginning, what's really fascinating is that almost 42% of all digital transformation investment dollars between 2019 and 2024 are services. In fact, it's the single largest part of the hardware-software services equation for digital transformation. And the implications are that professional service firms, in order to be able to address this TAM and opportunity, really need to staff, retain, and train their organizations to be able to deliver what we kind of describe as the role of a digital master chef. That's one who can blend the capabilities of hardware and software for those digital competencies that their clients are looking for. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Cushing Anderson, to talk about the implications and value of training that goes along with this. Cushing?
Thanks very much, Sean. So I spend my time looking at the impact that training has on the success of organizations that are going through digital transformations. And for the research that we at IDC have done over the last several years, we've found that there's a really strong correlation between success and comprehensive training that Sean referred to earlier. Now, I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about how training impacts specifically cloud adoption, but you can imagine that cloud substitute any other of the technologies that would be used in your digital transformation, and cloud is usually a fundamental component, but it doesn't really matter which technology you're trying to implement or how you're trying to transform your organization. You'll probably have similar characteristics, and you'll be able to envision how training can assist across that transition. So for the purposes of cloud, we looked at cloud as having, say, 7 or so stages of adoption, from the far left being no real interest in the cloud or in this particular technology, all the way through to a cloud-first approach where you would spend all of your focuses and everything you do kind of focuses on that delivery approach. But we found that only about 5% of organizations had no interest, and about 60% of organizations use cloud for something. And over time, about 70% of organizations expect to expand their use of cloud. We would have said they'd move up in their stages. And we think that's a pretty interesting approach, that you can find your way of moving up this thing. So we think that the value comes in moving through these stages more quickly, and that gets you time to value faster, gets you greater value faster. So you use this as a guide. You can imagine you're trying to move through any of these stages of adoption more quickly to generate greater use out of that technology. But let's first talk for a second about what we mean by comprehensive training. Comprehensive training means that organizations train not only on different topics, and the topics can be things like technologies or platforms, the real technology stuff. It could be about new methodologies or processes. It could be around organizational objectives and lining everybody up and getting everyone going to aim at the same target. It could also be about the potential uses of technology and how that technology influences business strategy. Having that range of technology of those topics is really essential because it isn't just about the physical bits and bytes. It's not just about how you what the processes are or the approaches that you're using, and sometimes you're using new techniques that you've not used before. The organization has to interact and collaborate differently. And it's not just about where you're going, and it's certainly not about what you could be doing. It's all of those things together that helps an organization get the most value out of their technology. And not only is it about those topics, but imagine who you have to train. You are training not just the team members or the technical team, the IT team, and it's not just non-IT employees. It's also groups of related folks. It's all types of folks that need to get different kinds of training and different levels of training and maybe different depths of training. But they're going to need probably something from each of those topics. They're all going to need to understand the organizational objectives. Many of them are going to need to know their new methodologies or processes. Some of them are going to need to know about technologies. And some are going to need to understand what the technology can do, so like business leaders, so they can begin to request, how do we implement this? Or they might be able to suggest ways in which a new technology can drive new business. So it's that comprehensive nature of training that trains lots of different kinds of folks on a range of different topics that sets up the greatest, most rapid growth through the progress. So one of the things that we did was we started looking at if organizations have comprehensive training, do they move through the stages differently than organizations that, say, have more limited training? And we found that the comprehensive training really impacts adoption and the impact of that technology. We found that the increasing the rate of adoption for comprehensively trained organization really depends on where the organization is on its cloud journey. And really but training helps at every stage and helps organizations move more quickly through every stage of their development. We found that about 100% of comprehensively trained organizations that are currently, say, at stage 2, educating themselves on cloud, expect to move to stage 3 and have firm plans to implement cloud in 2 years. So if you're just getting started, if you have a comprehensive training program, you're almost guaranteed to be moving forward toward other stages. And that's 4 times more likely than organizations that are only minimally trained. So you're 4 times more likely to move up these stages over the course of 2 years if you have a comprehensive training program compared to organizations that have a minimally trained staff. 67% of organizations, kind of more than 2/3 of comprehensively trained organizations that are currently at, say, stage 3, where they're evaluating the use of cloud, expect to move to stage 5, where you're using cloud for 1 or more workloads in 2 years, compared with just 11% of those organizations that are minimally trained. So you're 6 times more likely to progress through those stages in 2 years with comprehensive training. And finally, we found that 85%, well more than 3/4 of organizations, of comprehensively trained organizations that are currently at stage 5 using cloud services for 1 or 2 workloads, expect to move to stage 6 using cloud for several workloads or using it for nearly all workloads in 2 years, compared with just 45%, less than half of those minimally trained organizations. They are twice as likely to move beyond limited deployment into a more complete deployment within 2 years. So if your organization gets value out of the implementing of these technologies, it should be obvious that anything you can do to compress the time to value, to accelerate your time to achieving greater use, is something that will increase the value of that technology. And it turns out that there are other benefits too. We found that organizations have improved things like productivity, solving problems, and saving money. Comprehensively trained organizations really help you become more productive. Comprehensively trained organizations are 4.7 times more likely to think that cloud improves IT staff productivity. It creates better problem solvers. Comprehensively trained organizations are 3.5 times more likely to think that their teams can solve and generate new solutions to problems. They're also more cost efficient. Comprehensively trained organizations are 4 times more likely to think that optimizing on the cloud, for instance, can help speed spending or reduce spending. So there are all kinds of benefits that organizations can get from this more rapid transition from from the absence of technology to achieving it, like cloud. But if you're trying to get the most out of your digital transformation programs, it seems that training the IT staff on how to leverage technology and training the line of business and others on what technology can do will increase the value you can get from that initiative and will speed your transformation. Now, I'm going to hand this over to Jennifer and talk about some examples that they've got with Udacity.
Hey, thanks so much for that, Cushing. I appreciate it. You know, comprehensive training is a best practice that Udacity leverages with our customers to help them accelerate their digital transformation initiatives. And what we see and hear from our customers is that there's a significant talent gap, specifically in advanced skills like data science, machine learning, and AI. As digital transformation accelerates, the talent to drive it won't be there. And so upskilling is not only more cost effective than hiring. Studies show 94% of employees will stay longer at their jobs if their employer invests in training and development. So investing in learning benefits everyone. Now, with professional services and consulting in particular, knowledge is the product. So firms that don't have the best knowledge on the bench are at a disadvantage. And attracting tech-savvy talent is a challenge because everyone is looking for the same skills. And so one of our big 4 professional services customers recognized the need to develop a data-driven culture and build a talent pool with a deep understanding of advanced technologies to help their clients with increasing the pace of digital transformation initiatives, accelerating product and service innovation, and strategic workforce transformation. So they partnered with Udacity to build a digital accelerator program and upskill their workforce in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and product management and user experience. And so to date, we've upskilled thousands of employees in cutting-edge emerging technologies at a practitioner level, and we've enabled them to reduce risk and increase the pace of digital transformation initiatives for their clients. What we're witnessing is our customer creating a culture of digital innovation, and along with the value they are delivering to their clients with their advanced technology skills, so far they've also seen a 5% higher employee retention and a 19-point increase in employee satisfaction. So great value delivered to their clients and to the company. Now, professional services isn't the only industry that's experiencing this shortage in talent in advanced technologies. Other legacy industries like oil and gas have been through massive market disruption too. Like a number of leading oil and gas companies that have tapped AI to improve operations and reduce costs, Shell, one of our customers, found itself with insufficient skilled resources to work on projects. So they partnered with Udacity, and we worked with Shell on an initiative to bridge AI skill gaps, scale their corporate AI strategy, and increase their overall workforce productivity. Shell has a strategy to embed AI across its operations, and this is a move that has helped them lower costs and avoid downtime. As a result, Shell has built a data science center of excellence, which is responsible for a series of innovative programs across the organization. And one thing that I love is they actively celebrate their AI projects and team successes, which also contributes to retaining and attracting digital talent. So I'll close by just reiterating, waiting to upskill the workforce or expecting the talent to be there when a company needs it is really a mistake. Companies that emerge with the skills to accelerate digital transformation will win. And with that, Barbara, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. So I have a couple questions for our speakers. Jennifer, let's start with you. What are some of the skill sets that will be required in the future?
Oh, that's a great question, Barbara. So Udacity's mission is to train the global workforce in the careers of the future, and the future is now. We see data science and AI growing in importance as companies look to accelerate their digital transformation strategies to reduce cost, increase revenue, and mitigate risk. We're constantly evolving our nanodegree course content to ensure we are providing cutting-edge training as technology advances.
Okay, thank you. Sean, any thoughts there?
Yeah, just building on what Jennifer was saying, we see in our own spend guide analysis that of these technologies, artificial intelligence competencies and big data analysis are represented in 90% of the use cases that we've analyzed for key enabling technology competencies. And if you think about that, less than 4% of companies have transformed. So when the other 96% are looking for that talent and chasing the AI and analytics capabilities, they're not there today. It's going to be even more difficult to get that talent in the future, which really stresses the importance of having this comprehensive approach to training and continuous learning in your organization.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Jennifer, another question for you. How do you ensure staff are offered the right courses for their level?
Yeah, this is an important question because our learning paths align nicely to the stages of adoption that Cushing talked about. We structure our nanodegrees following a comprehensive training approach in a way that enables learners of all levels to be successful and to learn and grow at their own pace. We have a prescriptive approach to ensure we match learners with the appropriate course level, starting with a skills pre-assessment. And the assessment helps us determine where a learner should begin in a specific learning path, so we know they are on the right track.
All right, thank you. Cushing, any thoughts you'd like to add?
Yes, thanks, Barbara. There's another dimension of the right course that I think organizations should think about. Yes, it's important to train the teams using nanodegrees and give people the right path to go on. But another dimension that has been very successful at many organizations is to allow the employees to identify and select courses that matter to them, that they might find engaging, that might not be directly in their current career path or project schedule, but might be a direction they're trying to take their career. And organizations have used this to help reposition their IT group so that their IT team can get more data literate, even if it's not directly in the path of a particular role. But it also is a way for organizations to find interested and motivated individuals in other parts of the organization who could also take data or analytics classes or maybe even AI-related courses and use that motivation as an opportunity to both find those people and then bring them into projects that might be appropriate for them and their experience level. So it's very important to slot people in where they need to go, what their current level is, and understand what their next most important development opportunity is. But it's also important to open it up and let individuals select into areas that might be particularly interesting to them that you might be able to tap into as your needs grow. So I think about it in that way also.
Thank you, Cushing. That was great. My last question is for Jennifer. What makes Udacity different from other online learning platforms?
Well, there are a number of things like content quality and completeness that we're really proud of. But looking beyond that, I think we've all probably taken an online class that was a series of videos with a multiple choice test at the end. We like to call that lean back learning. We believe the best way to learn is by doing, especially when learning deeply technical skills. So within each course of our nano degrees, we have hands-on projects built in, and learners are required to pass the project in order to pass the course and then move on to the next course in the nano degree. So the great thing about this is that every time a learner passes a project, they've actually acquired job-ready skills that can be applied immediately. And to assist our learners with their projects, we have a global network of mentors to provide feedback and answer questions along the way. So with Udacity, you get real employable skills using project-based active learning at your own pace with the help when you need it.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. That's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank my speakers, Jennifer Dearman of Udacity, Sean Fitzgerald of IDC, and Cushing Anderson of IDC. And thanks to you, our audience, for joining us. For additional information on this topic, please visit the resources section on your screen. For IDG, IDC, and Udacity, I'm Barbara Call.